We've all seen it, right? Misinformation spreads like wildfire online, and it feels like our trust in, well, in everything is getting chipped away click by click. But what if we could actually build a new foundation for truth? Today, we're going to dig into a project called d-CFT, which is a really cool new toolkit designed to tackle that exact problem. And this really gets us to a fundamental kind of tricky question. We're told to rely on fact checkers, but who's checking them? This is the absolute core challenge that de facto, and by the way, it's pronounced de facto, which is pretty clever, is trying to solve. It's the problem of having too much power in one place when we're all just trying to figure out what's true. So let's look at the old way of doing things. It's very top-down, you know? A central group makes the calls, the whole process can be a bit of a black box, it's slow, and yeah, it can definitely be biased. But the vision here, it flips that entire model on its head. We're talking about a decentralized community, all working together where everything is out in the open. It's verifiable, it's fast, and this is key. People are actually rewarded for participating. So, why is this new vision so important right now? Let's break it down and look at exactly where our current systems for finding the truth are really falling short. The thing is, the failures aren't just little bugs, they're systemic. First off, these systems are just too slow. A false story can go viral before a fact check even gets published. The methods can be all over the place, and without transparency, how can you really trust the results? Centralization always opens the door for bias, and maybe the biggest issue, there's basically zero incentive for regular people to pitch in and help do the hard work. The project's own team really hits the nail on the head. They point to the, quote, proliferation of misinformation and lack of trust exacerbated by biased or centralized fact-checking processes. So, in plain English, the very systems that are supposed to be helping us are, in some cases, actually making the trust problem even worse. Ouch. All right, so we've laid out the problem. It's a big one, but now let's turn to the solution. This is where the Decentralized Fact Checking Toolkit, d-FCT, steps onto the stage. So what is d-FCT at its core? Well, it's a platform built on the Cardano blockchain. It uses AI, but, and this is a really important but, the AI is not the final judge. It's more of a tool to help sort through all the noise. The real verification work is done by the community in a totally transparent way. And there's a reward system built right in to make sure good contributions are recognized. Okay, so how does this all actually work in practice? The whole thing is built on three really solid pillars. The first pillar is AI content analysis. So when someone submits a piece of content, an article, a picture, a video, you name it, the AI gets to work. Its job is to break it all down, pull out the specific verifiable claims, and just get everything organized and ready for human eyes. Think of it as a super efficient research assistant, not the boss. Now for pillar number 2, which is community verification. This is where the magic really happens, because this is where people come into the picture. Users can add evidence, both for and against a claim. They can discuss it, vote on it, and together they build this solid body of proof. It puts the community in the driver's seat. And the third pillar holding this all together is the Cardano blockchain. This provides that critical layer of trust. Every single step in the process, from the moment something is submitted to the final community verdict, gets recorded on a public ledger that can't be changed. This means anyone can audit the process. Plus, the blockchain handles all the rewards, so the rules are enforced by code, not by some central admin who can change their mind. So, let's walk through it real quick. It starts with you. You find a sketchy URL or image and you submit it. Then, the AI jumps in, does its processing thing, and pulls out the key claims. After that, the community takes over, adding evidence and reviewing everything. And finally, if you made high-quality contributions, you get rewarded with the platform's native token, d-FC. Simple as that. And here you can get a little peek at what it actually looks like. This is the topic breakdown page. It's basically a dashboard where you can see all the claims, all the evidence, and all the community discussion for one specific topic. It's all laid out there, super clear and organized for everyone to see. Now, this all sounds great, but it's not just an idea on a whiteboard. Let's take a look at how d-Fact went from being just a concept to a real working product, what we call an MVP or minimum viable product, all thanks to the power of community funding. The team put out a clear timeline, and they absolutely delivered on it. They kicked things off with the architecture and smart contracts back in February, spent the spring building out the core mechanics for things like provenance and governance, and then boom, By July, they had a working MVP deployed on the Cardano testnet for anyone to go and test out.
And you know where the funding for this came from? It came directly from the Cardano community, through a really cool program called Project Catalyst, where people who hold Cardano's token can vote on which projects get funding. d-FCT was awarded 150,000 ADA. I mean, that's a perfect example of a grassroots movement supporting a solution it believes in.
Of course, building something this new, you're going to learn a ton along the way. The team discovered that Cardano's structure was actually a perfect fit for keeping the fact-checking process secure and transparent. They also learned that by using a hybrid Web 2/Web 3 design, they could build things much faster. But they also found out just how crucial it is to get the scoring system right to reward quality work, and that designing a fair, abuse-proof governance system, well, that's a really tough challenge that needs a lot of careful thought.
Okay, so they have a working prototype and some major insights under their belt. So what's the future look like? What's next on the horizon for d-FCT?
The roadmap from here is pretty darn ambitious. The next huge step is launching on the mainnet, which means it'll be fully public. From there, they'll work with real fact-checking communities to fine-tune everything. They also plan to move all their data onto decentralized storage and eventually transition the whole project into a DAO, a fully community-run organization. And they're thinking even bigger, exploring how this toolkit could be used in decentralized science to help verify research. How cool is that?
You know, when you really zoom out, this whole project is about so much more than just checking articles. The really big ultimate goal is to build a brand new layer for the internet itself, a high-trust, transparent, and verifiable layer that we can all rely on.
Which kind of leaves us with this final, powerful question to think about. What if truth wasn't something that was handed down to us from some central authority? What if instead it was something we could all build, verify, and own together as a community? That's the future that d-FCT is trying to build.